Hey Stampers, this is Jackie Ross, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Plano, Texas. And this is the second part. This is part 2 of the video that I did earlier for our September Stamp Club. And this is what we made. It's using the new Autumn Harvest bundle. So this is the outside of the card, and then this is the inside. So let me show you the stamp set. So that's the stamp set, and it also comes, as I say, as a bundle. With this punch, with the leaf punch. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we need is our base of the card, which is our cardstock, which is 8.5 inches by 4 1/4, and then scored at 4 1/4, so that when we fold it in half, we have a 4 1/4 inch square. The paper that we're going to use is the Autumn Harvest. And let me show you how gorgeous this paper is. So we have it, oh gosh, I had it all. So this is the paper. I had it all spread out, and then oh, there we go. So one side, as you can see, is all kind of fall harvest, pumpkins, acorns, and then the other side really could be used year-round. That's one thing that Stampin' Up! Are really good at. If we have a paper that has a theme on one side, then the other side is going to be nice and neutral. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on with this card. So we've got our base, and we've got our Designer Series paper on it. And now we're going to start stamping. So we're going to use crushed curry ink, and this is for the base of our sunflower. So I'm going to stamp the flower, and you'll notice when I stamp it that it kind of gets light and dark. It kind of gives it a nice watercolor effect. Our next step is Cajun Craze. And the great thing about this particular flower, it's two-step stamping. So we stamp the base, then we're going to stamp this on top, but it really doesn't matter which way or where, how you stamp it. It's just going to look great whichever way you do it. The next thing we're going to do is our inside using early Esspresso in the center here. Again, you've got that light and dark, really giving it that nice watercolor look. And then the last little bit is these like little dots in the center, kind of like a, I don't know, it's kind of like a freckle. So what I used, so this is our flower, and then what I did is I took the circle from, these are the layered circles. They usually look a bit nicer on my magnet thing, but I've been using them a lot, so I haven't got them all stacked. But this is the third largest of the plain ones, so that's going to cut this out. And then out of early Esspresso, we're using the stitched framelits. So the stitched framelits have ovals, circles, and squares. And I have to tell you, girls, this is probably, and guys, this is probably the most used of all my framelits at the moment. It kind of has become my go-to for shapes. Alrighty, so now we have our pieces ready to go. And now we're going to stamp our leaves. So the leaves are in garden green, and I'm stamping them on garden green cardstock. Just gonna stamp those, and then the leaf punch. So remember, we want to stamp our leaves first, and then we can go in with our punch and punch them out. Oop. And then one more coming out like that. So what we need to do is, I'm coming back in here with the silicone mat. You know how much I love the silicone mat. Stops getting all that sticky on the back of the grid paper. Plenty of tape on the back. And then we're going to put one leaf here, and then we'll put the other two on the other side and attach this to our Esspresso. Now the next thing we want to do, this card is going to go in a medium size envelope. So if we take a couple of dimensionals and place these here, we want to make sure that our card is, when we attach this, that it's not going to be too tall. So I made a template, which is just our regular 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card size. Place this on here, take off the dimensionals, and then add this part, making sure that we stay within this size for the so it will fit in the envelope. Now we're going to do the inside. We've still got a bit more to finish on that. And this time we're going to use, again, the garden green. This time we're going to use this Fernie stamp. Make sure it's the right way up. We're going to ink it, stamp it, and then stamp it off again without re-inking. And so you get that nice light dark effect. Oh, I didn't want to do that, so I'm going to stamp that off here. And gives us kind of, just gives more depth to the card. Now we're going to stamp the greeting. Your kindness means so much more than you will ever know. Now we're going to stamp the front of the greeting. Oh, I guess we can put this in the card while we're doing it. Put this in here. Again, this is a 4-inch square piece of cardstock to go in here. And again, it's 4-inch square on the front with your designer series paper. So it makes good use of your designer series paper because you can get 9 out of each sheet. This is a 1-inch strip. Again, we're going to use the Cajun Craze ink. Ooh. This is where the grid papers, sometimes with the scripts you can't see which, I don't know if you can see from here, which way the writing's going. So if we stamp it here first, okay, we know we can turn that around and place that on here. And then I'm just going to tear this off. So now we're going to add some ribbon. I love, love, love this new burlap ribbon. The burlap ribbon, and then this is the chevron. Now I find for attaching ribbon to cards that the tear and tape, this is the tear and tape, really works best for giving it a good hold. So we're just going to do that and then literally tear it off. Sometimes the tricky part with this is actually getting this tape off. And I find sometimes if I try and get this up with my nail, it ends up bringing the tape back off the paper. So if you go into the center, either with the paper piercer or you can use your snips, you know, that just, see how easily that came off? And then we can add our burlap and then another strip on top of this for our, again, burnish it well. If you burnish it well just with your nail, it will come off a lot more easily. And then take this off. Add our, oh, make sure that's going the right way. Add that little pretty strip of the crushed curry chevron ribbon, I think that is. Our sentiment, 2 dimensionals on the back. Ooh, we have one more thing to do on this, I remember now. This is going to go across here. And then we're going to add, I just did a little bow from the linen thread. And if you just place that, remember with the glue dots, we don't want to touch them because they lose their sticky and they become little snot dots. That's because they look like little boogers when they get yucky fingers on them. And then this is going to go on here. And so this is our card. Let me bring in, this is the original one that we did. And so again, same card, just change the paper and they just look lovely. I wanted to share with you a few samples of some other cards made with this stamp set. This one here, this time the sunflowers were cut out. This one's using the Peekaboo Peach for the card. That gives it a really pretty fresh look. This one has